The first thing we're going to do is draw our scene. So I'm going to have the horizon line just below the middle. Don't worry if it's not 100% straight. A bit wobbly is okay. And then this path is about here, maybe a bit more, a third of the way across, and it goes all the way to about, let me see, about here. There we go. And then we've got this yellow line that comes down to about here. And then this amazing fence. And it goes up about there. And then have to look very carefully at the angle here. It goes slightly up, just slightly. And then here we've got a line coming down like that. Okay, like that. And then we've got a tall building here. It's got like the corner chopped off here, but I'm not going to do that. Looks a bit strange. Too strange. Okay, and then we've got the edge of the building, which is quite nice. And we've got this top bit up here. And then over here we've got some buildings and stuff. So try to make that quite simple. And here we've got a car that looks quite interesting. And then we've got something there. And it goes to about here. About a third of the way. And then another tall building. Like that. And across like that. Too much. And it's got this lovely zigzaggy shape here. Then we've got like a few, well, I'll do just one house. There's actually more, but I'll do just one. And then we've got something here. And then something here and something here. Okay. Like that. And that will do for that. And then about here. Oh, and this comes down to about here. So I have to be a bit careful there. And we've got some kind of railings or something here. We've got a car in the distance. It's not a super difficult drawing, but you've just got to be a bit careful. And then we've got this car here, which is really exciting for me. And it's got an amazing shadow. And you can see like the rear wheel. And here we go, like that. And like that. I think that looks pretty good. Light, light. Okay, and then there's a some traffic lights. There. And then there's a sign about here. And then maybe here there's like a tree, and I'll do another one. And then here I'll do a palm tree because looks good. Looks very good. Okay, palm tree. And then over here, just a minute, here we've got this thing. So try and get that right. And this. And it ends about here. Only have to roughly indicate that. It's going in the right direction, should be okay. And then we've got our figures. So a little bit tricky, that umbrella. This person's got a big umbrella. Just do like 1, 2, 3 lines like that. Then the person's head is about here. Then body, they've got a big arm sticking out. Then body or coat. And then legs. 1, 2. 2 legs on this person. Sorry, just being stupid. And then we've got a little child here. Looking up. I don't know if I can capture that looking up, but it's going quite well. And they've got maybe a bag. Maybe not. Maybe no bag. I thought they had a bag, but no, they haven't. And then reflection. I'm just kind of helping myself here. This is a guide for me. And I don't think the umbrella really has a reflection because it's transparent. And we've got this car here. That's quite interesting. And oh, we've got a big utility pole here. So I'm just going to indicate that. And we've got wires going all over the place. Yeah, so it looks fairly correct. So we're going to draw the sky. I'm getting my quite wide flat brush. How wide is this? About 5 centimeters. So I think about 2 inches. You can use wider as well because it's a big space and you want to cover this as quickly as possible. And I wish I'd used pen now because my pencil is smudging a lot. Yeah, I'm not happy about that. Okay, next I'm going to get flat brush. This is about 13 millimeters or 1.3 centimeters, so ½ an inch. And we're going to make a grey, so we need something light blue, cerulean blue, and then a touch of a cool red, like alizarin crimson. That'll be good. I'm using quidrocene magenta. And then a little touch of yellow ochre, just a tiny touch to grey it off. Otherwise it'll be purple. So I've got some scrap paper. Let's test it out. Yeah, I think that's good. And maybe at first, let's try and go soft, really soft. I want to leave a lot of white if I can. So one of the big mistakes that beginners make is they try and paint everything. It's like they're painting a wall, and when you paint a wall, the most important thing is to cover everything. And watercolor painting is the opposite of that. It's so important to leave white space or leave gaps. So that can be quite challenging at first. So soon I'm going to go a bit darker. Just have a few little bits. I'm enjoying this. Okay, now we're going darker. I think I'll use phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is a really strong colour. My quadracine magenta and some of my yellow ochre. Now I should test this out, but to be honest, I don't always. And then the underside of this, I'm going to darken the underside of these light clouds. So one thing you have to be careful of is when you make this darker mix, your brush is not super watery. If it is, dab it on the rag. That's very, very important. Beginners often use a brush that is too wet. And if I want to soften it, I dab it on the rag and then it becomes a lot softer. And I can do blending like that. And the same here. Okay. So now I want to go really dark. So one of the problems you're going to have is it takes beginners a long time to mix their colours, and because they don't have the experience. It takes me quite a while actually, and the problem is your paint is drying. So what you might have to do is spray horizontally and let the drops go down. Now what it might do is create a speckled effect, but that's better than your paint all drying out. You don't want your paint on the paper to dry out. And I've got to go over here because this is drying out quickly. I'm trying to get these lovely bits of cloud coming up like this. They look so nice. And then, oh yeah, there's a bit of a light area here. So I have to maybe go back and do that. But I'm struggling here to paint this quickly. So maybe you need a bit of a thicker brush, a wider brush than I'm using here. Okay, and then do that. And then at the bottom here, I'm going to go even darker if I can do it. So my phthalo blue, my quadracine magenta, and you probably won't have this problem yet, but sometimes when you're mixing your paints furiously quickly, you can get a splatter effect, which can be a little bit upsetting because you've got all this splatter over your paper. If it's in the sky area, you can turn those little bits into birds. And if it's lower down, possibly when you paint the area lower down, it will disappear. So here we go. We're managing to darken it, which is wonderful. But leave a little bit of a light area there. So we've got some variety. I don't really have to draw or paint rather around that umbrella, but because I can use white paint later on. So that was probably a mistake. But there you go. Once you start painting, it's like war. All your plans just go out the window. Not that I know anything about war. Goodness me. But you know what I mean. As soon as you start painting, that's it. You might have had a plan, but now you've got to adapt. I think I'll keep that though, because I quite like it. The white umbrella, that is. I think that looks fairly nice. It's got a lot of power to it, but it's not that difficult, right? It's not that difficult, but it looks fantastic. I'm probably darkening this too much. And I think I've got a very purpley colour, but when I look at my reference photo, it's more of a bluey colour. So in the future, when I do this painting again, which I probably will because I really like the way it looks, I'll use more blue in my mix because I really like the bluey colour. But this purple is interesting. So with greys, you'll find that normally they're either bluey greys, reddy greys, or browny greys if you have a lot of yellow ochre, yeah. So there we go. I'm quite happy with that. Let's leave it to dry. I shouldn't be touching this anymore because it's drying off there at the top. Okay. I shouldn't touch it. But I'm trying to get a bit more of a cloud shape. My clouds are a little bit blocky. It might have been a good idea to use a round brush. So if you want to do that, go ahead. Okay, let's leave it to dry. This has now dried and we're going to do the ground bit. So this area here is very light, the road, and it gets a little bit darker. And the path is very dark. So really, I need a bigger brush. So I'm going to swap to this pointed oval brush. It's a bit hard. So I'm going to make a light mix to begin with. Ooh. Phthalo blue, a bit of my quadracine magenta, and yellow ochre, just a touch. And let's begin here. Oh, this is better. Bigger brush. I wish I'd had this one for the clouds. It would have been a lot better. And then wash it, dab it on the rag, and then let's do some lovely dry brush strokes like this. So obviously I have a lot of practice at this, and when you've had a lot of practice at this, it gets quite easy doing the dry brush strokes, or you develop a certain confidence from just developing from experience, really, I guess. So if you practice, it will get much easier. I guess that's what I'm saying. Okay, and then this bit is a lot darker. So up here, it's fairly light, although that looks a bit dark. And as we come down, it gets super dark. Wow, this is going to be super dark. Bit too purple. Let's get some blue. That's very blue. Let's mix it up. Wow. Let's blend it a bit more at the top. Just having difficulty mixing my colours. Okay. And I'm going to spray it. Spray horizontally. Let the drops fall down. And then let's try and do this bit in the bottom. I'll probably paint over this again even darker, if you can believe that. And here there's some light areas, so I might not do it so dark here at the moment. I'll save that for later. Looking good. I've wet my brush, well, washed it. Now I'm wiping it, and I'm going to do a bit lighter here. So I'm dabbing this on the rag, getting rid of the water and pigment. There we go, that's better. And get a sense of direction. We can do some very expressive directional marks, which will really add to the painting, give it a dynamic feeling. The problem when you paint on good quality watercolor paper is that you become a bit stiff, a bit inhibited, and your brush strokes are not so expressive, which sadly leads to a bit more of a lackluster result. There we go. I can fix this later, this little patch here. Let's leave that to dry. Now, let's do the background buildings. So we need to make a very dark mix. So I'll begin with some yellow ochre. I need to clean it. Then I'll get some of my quadracine magenta and some of my phthalo blue. Let's test on some scrap paper. That's good, but maybe not enough. Okay, let's try this. Maybe I'll use my small flat brush for this. See what happens. I guess it's best if I start here. For some reason I want to start here, but it's best to start from the left and go to the right if you're right-handed. So you don't put your so you don't put your hand in the paint. I really don't like negative painting. Maybe because I'm not very good at it. And then it's all very dark down here. If you put your hand on the paper, it gives you a lot more control. Can you believe it? Somebody came. Okay. So that's wrong there. There's no building there. So let's do this. And then I'm worried about this drying out, so I'm just going to get some wetter mix and blend it in. But you have to be careful that you don't get cauliflowers. We don't want cauliflowers. Can I do some expressive brush strokes here? A little bit. I splay the hairs like that to do trees. At first, this is not easy, and the hairs soon go back together, but with practice, it gets a lot easier. Ooh, I've got to be careful now. I've got wet paint below me, so I have to watch where I'm putting my hand. Then we've got a car here. This little car is really nice because it gives a real strong sense of perspective. It really looks like a cube. Okay. And then we've got a big building over here. So that tree is going to disappear. We can add another one here. Can be quite challenging getting those lovely long vertical lines straight. And then this has got those beautiful little bits here. I'm not doing them very well. That I'll have to do. But those things really make the shape look exciting. Hmm. Have to remember that this building comes down here. And there's actually some cars here. Shall I paint them? could be a bit challenging. Think I'll have a go. But first, let's spray it. Okay, I'm just going to drop some cerulean blue into here. And maybe also into here. And it's a bit late to do it, but even here, my mix is fairly thick. So I shouldn't get any horrible cauliflowers, but we'll see. I've been a bit timid painting this. I wasn't in my flow, but there you go. Sometimes like that, especially when you're doing a video. Okay. That's a car there. And maybe I'll do another one here. Yeah, that's a little bit difficult, so you don't have to do that. Got a front wheel. Always useful. And there's another one. I don't know what that's going to turn out like, but we will find out. It's kind of interesting. And then we've got a big curb. The curbs are huge in Japan, so you can't go up on them. Not unless you want to destroy your car. I think that's a bit unfriendly myself, really. But there we go. And let's spray a bit. And I think I'll do the utility poles later when it's dry and I can put my hand on the paper and have a bit more control. Okay, let's do this car. So I think of the car as like a three-dimensional rectangle, yeah. I've got this bit here. That changed a bit. Ah. So we've got the side bit like that. and we are seeing quite a lot of the side. Sometimes you see, well, you can see nothing if it's head on, and if the angle is very sharp, you see very little. And we can also see quite a lot of the back. So trying to get these proportions right is tricky. Don't give yourself a hard time if you don't manage to do that. And then we've got the back window, and then it goes almost all the way to the back, the window. And then this front bit, it's at a sharper angle. Well, no, not such a sharp angle as the back one. I know what I mean, but sometimes I say it wrong. But I am trying to paint. And then here we've got a wheel, and it's really close to the back. And there's probably another wheel here, and another one maybe right at the front. It's really at the front. And that looks maybe okay. So now I'm going to add some cerulean blue to my mix, quite a lot, for the shadow. Because I want the shadow to look a little bit different to the car. Just a little though. If possible. When it all dries off, it might look more or less the same. That can often happen. And my back tyre has disappeared. The shadow comes quite far back, well, a little far back. It's not directly under the car. Like that. So you can see the shadows are slightly different colour. Hopefully when it dries off, we can still see that difference. Sometimes you can't. And I think also here I'm going to dab it with the tissue, and then I'm going to put in some of this cerulean blue because this is a bit light up here. So I hope to indicate that a bit, that little bit of light there. I'm not sure we'll see that when it's dried, but when it has dried, but there you go, there you go. There you go. Okay. And then we've got stuff up there, but maybe I'll do that later. Okay. So I think I'll let that dry. So it has dried, and now I'm going to make this darker. So I'm going to use this big bamboo brush. And my favorite three colors, here we go. Yellow ochre, quadracene magenta, phthalo blue. Now I think first of all I want to do this road, but it's not a good idea because if I start here and move over here, I could put my hand in wet paint, so I guess I should start here. And I'm just going to blend that in with my pointed oval brush. Like that. Okay. Now that's very dark, but that's what I wanted. Okay, here we go. And expressive brushstrokes would be good. And I'm going to do it weaker down here at the bottom. A bit of dry brush would be nice. We'll see what happens. I'm dabbing this on the rag a lot. Okay, let's do the top part before it dries off. So that looks quite good. Or does it? Okay, I'm going to darken it a bit more. Can you just be quiet, Junko? Now I'm going to spray it. And maybe spray it some more because it's drying out. Okay, I'm going to use some tissue here. and try and create highlights. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure if it will work out, but hopefully it will. And then over here, I'm going to do some dry brush. And I think I'm going to turn it round. So I probably could have done this first. Okay, I don't know. So here we go. I might just spray that. Take the clip off. Yeah, that's quite nice. And then here, darker. Okay. Hmm. Okay, let's do this bit. Not too bad. I kind of like these marks. Okay, let's leave that to dry. Maybe here I might. Do a few marks. It's a bit nerve-wracking, to be honest. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. Nice sparkle. Okay, so I've turned the paper because it's easier for me to move my arm from left to right, and I need a steady arm because I'm about to paint the utility poles. So I'm doing my famous three colours, which are phthalo blue, not alizarin crimson, which is what I normally use, but because I could get a big tube of it, I'm using quadracine magenta, and I'm delighted about that because it's a beautiful colour. So a really nice colour, a kind of pinky, reddy, cool colour. So here we go. I went a bit too high with that. So quickly with the tissue. We can erase it a little bit, not a lot. Okay. And blend that in there. So it really is good, or it really is a good idea to turn the paper around in order to be able to paint something with a lot of control. Ooh. Where's that traffic light? We've got a signal thing, maybe about here. Probably should have turned the paper for this. It would have been more horizontal. So it's just when you're doing a video, you're always having to think about the viewer, but it can sometimes get in the way of your natural painting process. Okay, turn it again. And when you're turning it, you can't even just turn it in a casual way, because if you drop it too hard on the surface, it can make a loud noise which picks up on the microphone. The joys of video editing. Okay, there's lots of these poles where I live, and I'm not drawing them all super accurately. Some I am, like these two, they are definitely level with one another, but this one over here isn't, because it's on a different road. They're doing all this rewiring in Japan, and also they're replacing these old, not these ones, but these old concrete utility poles that carry power lines. They're replacing them with like steel ones. I guess they must be stainless steel or something that's not normal steel, because I don't think they rust. I hope they don't. So there's a concrete wall which has disappeared that we're now going to paint. Roughly, where is it? So I'm kind of guessing here. So it goes up to about there, begins about there. What a big mark. I didn't want that. No, 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 no. Goodness me. Okay, and then it comes down to about here. So we'll go with that. And then it goes up to about this height. So once we've got that, we're pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is get some yellow ochre and I'm just going to drop it in here. I think they call this charging, and it's something that I do a lot of and really enjoy doing. Whoops, and if you go over, just erase. There we go. Something like that. And then maybe this car on the left here. Just give it a side bit and a front bit, a shadow basically. like that. And like that. And I think that's basically that done. And then we're going to do the figures. So I'll use the same brush and the same mix, but I need it to be a bit more and a bit thicker. A bit more and a bit thicker. Okay, here we go. So, that umbrella. So, change your plan. So this umbrella, yeah, take some of this mix, put it in here. Now the top bit, we want to be dark like this. So that looks pretty good. And then wash out my brush, dab it on the rag. And then here is pure water at the bottom, hopefully. And then I'm going to slowly come up and blend it in. Hopefully. Like that. So I'd love to paint my figures, but I need to let that dry. But looking nice. Looking nice. And perhaps I can do a dark bit here. So get the same mix and I'm going to do it across here. Like that. And then get some, wet my brush, dab it on the rag, and then I'm going to fade this off, or at least try. Now I'm going to paint these figures. Maybe before that I might just do this windscreen here. So once again, my three favourite colours. Blue, red, and a touch of yellow ochre. Bit more. Test it on my scrap paper. And let's have a look. Okay. It's not as dark as I thought it was going to be, but dark enough. And this is pure water. And just blend that in. Yeah, and that is very simple, but I think that's good enough. And I want this white up here, so I'm trying to remove some of this grey here. I'm going to go over this with white paint as well, so it's not the end of the world if I don't remove it. I I can also soften this a bit, which is going to be good. Yeah, it's a beautiful scene. Yeah, that looks quite nice, even though I've been a little bit unable to get rid of some of the grey at the top. We've got a nice soft effect there. Maybe I wiped out too much there, but there we go. And some dark paint there. And maybe I should try and do this again. So this is just water. And let's do it for this bit here. I just dried my brush a bit. It's quite nice. Okay, and then a touch of white I want to take out. Okay, that'll do. Not too bad. Okay, figures. Time to do the figures. My phthalo blue is very hard. It makes mixing quite a challenge. I did spray my paints to begin with, but maybe I should have sprayed them a lot more. Okay, maybe this will do. You don't want the brush too wet, but of course not dry either. Getting that balance is one of the challenges of watercolor painting. And be careful not to put my hand in there or in there. That would be tragic. So I've been busy all day doing stuff, and it's wonderful because now I've got the chance to paint. Of course, there is the stress of being videoed, but I'm going to have to get used to that. Okay. I think that's not bad. And then we've got this lovely little child here with the head turned, looking towards mum or grandma. So children look like they've got quite big heads because I think their head fairly soon reaches like its adult size, whereas the body takes a lot longer. So they've got these little bodies but quite big heads. Amazing, really. Okay, time for the reflection. I thought I did a guide, but I can't see anything now, so just take my time. And it's a mirror image I'm painting here. Maybe I'll do her hand there. So the umbrella doesn't have a reflection from what I can see. Maybe because it's transparent. But if some light was reflecting off it, which it is, there might possibly be some reflection, I would have thought, but I can't see any. Now that looks quite nice. And then what I'm going to do is just check it. Yeah, and then get my liner brush, pure water, and just do a few lines, especially at the end. Like that. It's not a lot, and I'm not sure it really worked much, but sometimes it looks really good to do these little lines. Okay, so there we go. And then what's next? So could it possibly be a liner brush, which could go very, very wrong? But I will use a pen. I will tilt the board because it's easier for me to do lines this way. Okay. But I'm still not sure where my lines are going. Okay, I think there's some lines there. Begin with the easy ones and then build up. Okay, maybe I'm going to go this way and clearing some space. I think there's some lines here. Now they don't have to be perfect, and if you make a few that are wrong, as long as they're not going off to the moon, don't worry about it. That one was a bit wayward. You're always going to get one, at least, that does its own thing, so try not to freak out. And you can almost not see them, or let me put that a better way, you can hardly see them. So we're just wanting to suggest these lines, yeah? It adds something, I think, to the painting. Now I know I should begin over here and move to here so I don't put my hand in wet paint, but I just want to start here. So I'm trying to get into a comfortable position because we're going to make some nice sweeping marks here, and you want to be in a comfortable position. I have to admit, I love using white paint. That's quite nice. It can basically do magical things to a painting. It's very easy though to get carried away and use too much, which I probably do every single time. For these highlights on the figures, maybe first the path. Wow. I need to do a dark underside to that as well. Should have done that first. But there we go. And hopefully we can get some nice textural effects on this path. Okay, time to use this liner brush. Okay. And maybe these figures and the car. Okay. I really love to paint cars. They're very interesting objects. One of the most beautiful things is when the rain stops and the sun comes out. It can look amazing. And sometimes you have mist rising up. It's absolutely it's incredibly beautiful. Okay, so we've got this fence here. So this is a bit nerve-wracking. If you get your angles fairly right, it's not too bad. But I'm not too sure. Okay, my verticals are a little bit off, but I can hide that. Okay, this is nerve-wracking now. Dry brush. So I'm just doing that very gently, yeah. I'm not going deep into the paper. Sometimes I might actually, if the brush is quite dry, then it's quite safe to do that, but especially at first, when the brush is a little bit wet and you've got a lot of paint, then you need to go gently. Wow, I hope my head's not getting in the way. So apologies if you can see my woolly hat. Does it work? Okay, and then here there's no wall. So I should kind of make that disappear, and it did. Oh my goodness, magic. Magic, wonderful. Okay, and now this is where it gets really exciting or absolutely disastrous. Oh no, I was going to do white paint here, but I've got to do that dark curb. But it's looking rather nice, which kind of puts a bit of pressure on me. Probably shouldn't have said that. You really do need to be a little bit of a kind of daredevil in a minor way, not a major way, in a minor way, when you do watercolor painting, because you've got to be open to taking risks. In my case, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. And to just not care too much. It's weird, it's a kind of trick. You do care, but you've got to almost paint like you don't care. Alright, that's in the wrong place. But obviously, the more you paint, the better you get at like correcting things, so mistakes are not quite so frightening because you can fix it. And also, in the process of fixing it, there's quite a challenge. And the more you fix things, like the more you kind of solve the challenge or whatever it is, succeed, and you improve. Not sure that came out quite as well as I wanted it to. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Part of me wants to darken this. Okay, maybe I will. And then let it dry and then come back and do some whites and also darken inside of there. The main aim is just, well, I guess having fun and really expressing yourself is so important, and just letting that creative whatever it is thing out. But then the next thing is do whatever it requires to make a fantastic image. You know, don't let rules control you. Just follow the rules if they work. Okay. I think that was a good idea to do that. Oh, there's a bit over here. And I'm trying to get some directional marks there. I think my shadows disappeared a little bit, but that's okay because in a way it softened them. And then that umbrella needs to be a darker bit inside of there. It's a really big umbrella. But there we go. Maybe. I felt like I needed to give it an edge, but okay, that's a bit better, I think. Yeah, I think that's working. Okay, this maybe was a good idea, going a bit darker. So, oh yeah, over here we can do. So get some white. Yeah, it's very stark, this painting, but I think that's one of the beautiful things about it. And over here we've got some flags. Now they are a light blue colour, so I might do blue mixed with white, and I'm using cerulean blue. I love it, but I wish it wasn't quite so hard. I wonder if my paints are softer in summer when it's really hot and humid. I've got the impression they are. Okay, so here we go, blue flags. And it's only going to be like slightly tinted. And nobody's really going to know what they are, but they just make the painting a bit more interesting. Oh yeah, and over there we've got a roof. Oh, I forgot to do my palm tree. I've got to have a palm tree. There isn't one here, but I love palm trees. So when I see a palm tree, it makes me think I'm on holiday. I'm somewhere warm and I can relax. So it's not my best palm tree, but I think it's good enough. And then hopefully we're safe down here to do this bit of roof here. Wow, that was a bit more watery than I thought it was going to be. Okay. Okay, make it a little bit of a rough roof, like I said, I like rough in paintings. And then let's have little tiny bits and bobs and stuff. It means nothing. It's almost like calligraphy, but it just makes it look a bit more interesting. Maybe that's some kind of sign or something. Okay, and yes, looking good. And then let's do some red. So I've got my pyro red, but I'm going to stop soon because my tea's getting cold. I don't like cold tea. I really like it when it's hot, especially in winter. So you have to do this real thick. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, what a beautiful colour. So I'm trying to get it real thick here. And also this car here, just a touch. Might have to add a little bit more there. Maybe that was too thin. Super thick. Come on. Let's pile it on. Okay. And then dark. And let's just do that windscreen, that rear windscreen. Dark. Just little touches like that can help. Okay. And maybe these figures, give them a little bit of colour. Get the cerulean blue. And maybe make this, oh, it's wet down there. Yeah, always have to be careful. I should probably stop, but I want to get this done before my family get back from the dentist and the whole place becomes like a nightclub. Now it's lovely, well, not super peaceful, but it's quite peaceful now. And good for videoing. Okay, and what shall I do here? Okay, red. Okay. Oh, I'm a bit frightened at this. What's it going to be like? Could be too powerful. Which probably means I should do it. Because I'll learn something. Oh, went over my white line there. But look at them. Goodness me, they really stick out now. Lovely. Okay. And then it's looking quite nice. It's amazing how there's just a few colours, just a few, very, very few. They work so powerfully on this black, white, grey scene. Okay, so I want to do this, but I've got to let it dry. So let's let it dry and have a cup of tea. Oh, I forgot. I need to do this bit. I need a little bit of grey. And I need a little bit of grey here. And then soften it a little bit. Yeah. Okay, let's leave it. Oh, birds. Something else. Up here, let's have some tiny birds where these splatters are. Maybe down here. Nice. That one looks a little bit like an X-Wing fighter. So try and change it a little bit. Okay. I'm back. I've had some tea. I feel a bit more refreshed. I've had a look at the picture. I've had a bit of a think. Oh my goodness. And I decided that this needs to be strengthened a bit, but not there. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's good. And then we've got this long line here. Oh my goodness. So let's get the liner brush. Get some yellow ochre. Get some white. I'm using Chinese white. Okay, and then maybe turn this. So I hope you can see it okay. Yeah, looks like you can see it. Oh, but it looks really fantastic. So where do we begin? About there, and a slow stroke down. Okay, that's a good start. It's pretty strong, isn't it? And if it's a bit rough, I think that's good. I would have liked it if it was thinner here, but there we go. Whoo! And but these lines can look so amazing and really add to the painting. Okay. Okay, and then here. Wow. Here we go then. It's a bit too wet. I don't know why, but you get these kind of, it's kind of like rectangular patterns going this way and going horizontally. Oh, quite like what I've done. It was a bit nerve-wracking. And yet also quite fun. I'm overdoing it a little bit now, but like I said, once you get the white paint out, oh my goodness. It can be a bit difficult to know where to stop. Oh yeah, oh that looks good. Wow. Oh, nah, something's getting excited. Look at those amazing textures we're creating. So I didn't realize it was gonna happen quite like that. Oh, lovely. Well, I've learned a new technique, so there you go. So, and this stuff underneath really helps as well, doesn't it? But there you go, you can put white on, going this way and then across, and then use your finger and get that lovely grainy effect. Just have to be careful not to overdo it, and I think we've reached the limit. Okay, well, I'm really happy with that. Okay, and then this needs cleaning up a little bit, I think, here. Just wet that. Then get some tissue and wipe it out. Maybe a little bit more. So things are not set in stone with watercolor painting. Once you've done something, there is the ability to some extent to alter things and play around with them a bit. And the more familiar you get with the medium, the more you can do that fun stuff. Okay, maybe about 10 or 15 years ago when I started painting watercolors, I never did a signature because I thought it spoiled the painting. But then you learn that customers love a signature on a painting, which, you know, I was the complete opposite. For me, the painting was everything. And why would you spoil it, almost like graffiti? All the family came back, so I'll finish off here. But why would you spoil it with a signature? And there we go, finished. So it turned out rather nice. It's got a fantastic mood, and I love this whiteness here. I didn't exactly plan that, but that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And I love this texture here. So there we go. I hope you have a go, and most important thing, have fun, and I'll be back soon with another watercolor lesson. Bye for now.